Ready?
Go.
All right. Ketzel, the Cat Who Composed by Leslia Newman, illustrated by Amy June Bates. Moshe Kotel lived in the middle of a noisy building, in the middle of a noisy street, in the middle of a noisy city, but Moshe didn't mind. Everything he heard was music to his ears. Moshe was a composer. Every morning he composed himself by sitting very still. He listened outside himself and listened inside himself, just as his teacher had taught him when he was a little boy. When he was done listening, Moshe turned all the wonderful sounds he heard into beautiful music. When Moshe was finished working for the day, he went out for an afternoon walk to listen to the sounds of the city. One particular day, he turned a corner and heard a sound he had never heard on the street before. It was a small sound. It was a sad sound. It was a little Ketzel cat. Moshe cried. He often used Yiddish words when he was nervous or excited. "Come, little Ketzel," he said, scooping up the black and white kitten. "I will take you home and we will make beautiful music together." The next morning, Moshe moved a stack of music books off the top of the piano and set Ketzel down. "You must listen outside yourself and inside yourself," he instructed as he began to play. Ketzel kept very still. The music started off slowly and slowly, but then it grew louder and faster, reminding Ketzel of crowds of people rushing by her, almost trampling her, and she meowed in fright. Moshe stopped playing, picked up little Ketzel, and looked into her big green eyes. "Oh, Ketzel, I see that music stirs your soul," he said, "and that is a wonderful thing." One day, a letter for Moshe arrived in the mail. The Paris New Music Review is having a contest. Moshe read aloud to Ketzel. Each composition must be no longer than 60 seconds. Moshe blinked in disbelief. 60 seconds? Impossible! How can anyone create a beautiful composition in only 60 seconds? He asked Ketzel and put the letter aside. The next day, when Moshe sat down to play, his fingers fumbled over the keys. He kept glancing at the letter from the Paris New Music Review. Finally, he decided to give it a try. He wrote a few notes and then a few more, and then a few more. Before he knew it, his composition was 10 minutes long. "Impossible," Moshe said. Time passed and Moshe grew more and more unhappy. One day, he did not even come to the piano at all. Ketzel stared at him as he stared out the window. Ketzel didn't know if he was listening outside himself or listening inside himself. Perhaps he was not listening at all. Moshe looked at the letter announced to the contest again, and Ketzel looked at it too. She knew it was the source of all Moshe's unhappiness. Maybe if she got rid of it, Moshe would be happy again. She put one 6-pawed toe down on the keyboard, crept across the keys, then pushed off the piano with all 4 paws and landed on the table where the letter lay. Moshe whipped around. "Ketzel, that was magnificent," he cried. Moshe grabbed a pencil and jotted down exactly what he'd heard. He played it several times, then turned to Ketzel. "Your composition was a clever beginning, middle, and end. Is full of heart and takes exactly 21 seconds to play. Ketzel, you're a genius." Moshe folded up Ketzel's composition and wrote a note to the judges. "This piano solo, piece for piano, 4 paws, was written by Ketzel Kotel. It is her first composition. She hopes you enjoy it." Then he and Ketzel walked to the corner and dropped it in the mail. Time passed and Moshe and Ketzel forgot all about the contest. Then one day another letter arrived. "Dear Ketzel Kotel, we are sorry to inform you that your piano solo did not win first, second, or third place in our competition. However, the judges admired your creative instinct and imagination and have decided to award you a certificate of special mention. Congratulations, Ketzel, you did it, Moshe said or cried. He lifted Ketzel in the air, and the two composers danced a jig of joy all around the room. A few weeks later, Moshe brushed Ketzel's fur until it shone and put on his very best suit. Then they hailed a taxi and rode to the concert hall where Ketzel's piano solo was having its debut. Moshe carried Ketzel inside his jacket and sat down in the very last row. When the contest hall darkened, he placed Ketzel on his lap. The music began. 2 whole hours went by. Finally, a young girl crossed the stage. I will now play Piece for Piano 4 Pause by Ketzel. Meow! The girl paused, then began again. I will now play Piece for Piano 4 Pause by Ketzel. Meow! Ketzel meowed again at the sound of her name. As the audience laughed, the house manager flicked on the lights and rushed to the stage. Is there a cat in the theater? He demanded. That is not allowed. Please leave immediately. But this is Ketzel Kotel, the cat who composed Piece for Piano 4 Pause, Moshe said, holding up Ketzel for all to see. A cat who composes? Ridiculous! Ludicrous! Preposterous! Impossible! The judges were called to the stage to confer. There is no rule saying that a cat cannot compose, the head judge announced. Therefore, we invite Ketzel. He paused as she meowed again to please stay as we all enjoy her prize-winning composition. The young pianist took her place with arms stiff and hands held straight over the keys. She leaned forward, pausing for a minute like a cat getting ready to pounce. Then she played Ketzel's piece. Encore, encore, the audience cried. The girl played Ketzel's composition again, and when she was done, Moshe brought Ketzel up to the stage so that the composer and musician could each take a bow. After the concert, Ketzel became very famous. Her picture appeared in many newspapers, and her composition was performed all over the world. And one day, another envelope addressed to Ketzel Kotel arrived. It contained a royalty check for $19.72. At the bank, a teller pulled out a stamp pad, and Ketzel pressed her front paw into the ink and then placed it on the back of the check, endorsing it with her six-toed signature. The bank teller counted out Ketzel's money. It bought Ketzel many cans of cat food, which she thoroughly enjoyed. It's a lot about the author. So, author's note, Ketzel the cat who composed is based on a true story. Morris Moshe Ketzel was born in Baltimore, Maryland on February 20th, 1943. He studied music as a boy, and by the time he was 13, he had composed a 200-page 4-movement symphony. Mr. Ketzel graduated from the Juilliard School of Music in New York City. For many years, he taught music composition at the Peabody Conservatory of Johns Hopkins University. Ketzel was born in 1992, according to Mr. Ketzel. Her favorite composer was Johann Sebastian Bach. On the day that Ketzel strolled down the keyboard, Mr. Ketzel quickly wrote down the notes exactly as he had heard them. Later, he entered Ketzel's exquisite atonal miniature in the Paris New Music Review 1-minute competition, where it received a special mention. In the actual letter sent to Ketzel, the judges praised the composer for her creative instinct and imagination. Piece for Piano 4 Pause had its world premiere at the Friedberg Concert Hall at the Peabody Conservatory on January 21st, 1998. It was played by 10-year-old pianist Shruti Kumar. Ketzel did not attend that performance, but did attend a later one and meowed loudly at the sound of her name when her piece was introduced, much the audience's delight. Ketzel became quite famous for her piano piece. Mr. Ketzel said she was his best student and was amused at how quickly her fame surpassed his own. After her piece was played in Europe, Ketzel received a royalty check for $19.72, which was used to purchase cat food. In 1999, Mr. Ketzel composed Muse for Orchestra, a composition based on Ketzel's prize-winning solo. He retired from teaching in 2000 and was ordained as a rabbi 3 years later. Speaking, please stop.
Yes, ma'am.
Speaking to the Johns Hopkins Gazette about Ketzel's accomplishment, he said, "The rabbis speak of kavana, a state of mental concentration. Any commonplace event in our day can be transformed and seen in a heightened sense of reality. We are surrounded by miracles if you can only perceive them." Ketzel's composition can be heard on the CD Don't Panic, 60 Seconds for Piano. It is performed by Guy Livingston, the co-founder and editor of the Paris New Music Review, who oversaw the contest that awarded Ketzel her certificate of special mention. The end.